Oh my god.
Okay. Okay.
Oh gosh. This is so new to me.
Day at
Scary.
farmer's market.
I just want to look for the bunnies.
No, don't make it noise.
Because we ran.
Come on,
It was
son.
my favorite. There's no need to
Where?
send
I need you to go deep on this one.
The waters we all swim in might seem different, but they are all connected. It's like a stream that starts up in the mountains and flows down the slopes, through the valleys, flatlands, all the way to the ocean.
We all find lives in the same waters. We just happen to be in different parts of the river. Some are fortunate to be at the top of the mountain, and some find themselves at the opposite end.
The river is continuously flowing. Some might say that a flowing river is much better than a stagnant lake. It's safer and cleaner, right?
When you choose to spit into the water springs up in the mountains, you choose to spit into the waters that give life to every person down those slopes.
This river connects us all, directly or indirectly. It's an endless flow that is ignored by many. The waters we swim in are constantly in contradiction.
Sometimes they are a rush of intensity. Other times they are a still sea of tranquility. The waters I swim in have many influential predators: fear, failure, vanity, prejudice, gluttony, discrimination. Memories of me and my uncle sitting on the ground with cops twirling their batons has been etched into my skull. It was a Sunday morning when we had missed church. Our only task was to replenish our hungry stomachs with the delicacy of a Martin's chicken biscuit. My uncle volunteered to pick them up in his old Ford Taurus, and I told him that I would accompany him. While leaving the drive-thru, my uncle began reminiscing on his current everyday routine of waking up to his 9-to-5 job and then coming home to a newborn baby. We were so into his story that we didn't notice anything but our thoughts drifting around us. There was a cop parked on a hill looking out of his car window for any speeders. He didn't have a radar gun. In no less than 5 seconds of passing the cop, red and blue lights flashed in the rearview mirror. We pulled over. He said we were speeding, 47 and a 25. He demanded license and registration. My uncle humbly did what the officer ordered. We could have been going faster than we realized, but 47 and a 25 seemed like a ridiculous number, especially since there was a Prius driving the same speed in front of us. 10 minutes later, the pig caused 2 more hogs out of the barn. We're asked to step out of the car. Next thing I know, we are demanded to turn around and are cuffed. With no warning, they pat us up and down looking for trouble. They pushed us down to the sidewalk and checked the car. They found nothing but cigarette butts, children's clothes, and 2 lukewarm chicken biscuits. They stood us up, gave us our ticket, and told us to go. We leave the scene dazed, confused, and enraged. I had an immense amount of anger and offense for a long time. Because of my skin, the waters I swim in are already prejudiced. Because of the fools, I am now considered one before I can open my mouth. But I can't allow that to define me. I must stay in my own wave, although others try to pull me back. The waters we swim in
are omniscient. The water I swim in is ominous. I was on my work experience. I worked in the Wythers School in Wales. Everyone was talking about weed and sex. They were fighting and kicking all the time, even in front of the teachers. Seeing them paying no respect, it reminded me that I was once them. I was so angry at myself at that time. I felt ashamed. I've done things wrong, but everyone else has too. But I'm the only one being called names. This path of water I swim in is the school I go to, and everything that happens in this path of water is predictable. They follow what the trends are, what the patterns are. Their eyes are like mirrors, reflecting what others do. Everyone is the same. Even though this is the water I swim in, people can choose to go against the current. My mum is the greatest example. No matter what, my mum will always stand for me, forgive me, and support me. She worked from nothing, from one of the poorest country in China, from the breakup with my dad, and become one of the most successful women I've ever seen. She's always treated failure as something you have to go through to be successful. My generation is starting to misunderstand the purpose of their lives. They're spoiled. When they have to face any problems, they just want to escape from the reality. From the water I swim in, I swam to different stations of the water, and I learned to see things from the ocean, the lake, outside the path I'm in. Swim against the crowd. Swim out a path of your own way. 希望本是無所謂有，無所謂無的。這正如地上的路，其實路上本沒有路，走的人多了，也變成了路。The waters we swim in are merciless.
It's where even the biggest fishes drown. The waters I swim in are poisoned, infected, and wicked. But look, the fish still survive. 15 years of misery and torment, but my people have not dropped their swords and shields. There's blood in our hands, but we wipe it off for each other. There are tears in our eyes, but we let time dry them off. In Nepal, there's abduction, rape, murder, but despite it all, our spirits are alive because there is no fear. And if fear hasn't killed us yet, nothing will. I remember how my brother left for heaven last year. We admitted him for a simple operation in the leg bone. It was such a common procedure that most of us didn't even go to the hospital with him. But he died of typical Nepali hospital negligence when the doctor overdosed him on anesthesia. It was disgusting how they kept his body in excruciating pain for 24 hours in the ventilator, kept my brother's dead body in a ventilator to cover up their crime. I had to see my grandmother shed tears and see my grandfather burn his own grandson. We were devastated, but something kept us alive. It was how my aunts cried in mourning but openly accepted the loss. It was how my grandfather held the funeral fire, but his hands never trembled. There was pain in having to live a life without brother, but there was no fear. No fear of tomorrow, no fear of continuing our lives, and like all Nepalis, no fear of the suffering that was to come, because the spirits were still alive. The Nepali had choices to make. Should we jump into the ocean of the tempting ways of the materialistic world, but then be overwhelmed, lose identity, and eventually drown? Or should we jump into the lake of deceptive comfort, of surrender to the larger nations, but never discover reality, our potentials, and be stuck in those tiny waters forever? Or maybe we should jump into the river that gives us life, but inflicts suffering, and then eventually washes away our ashes. So the Nepali chose the river, for they found pleasure in that suffering. Om Lok Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. The waters we all swim in
are complicated in different ways. They might make up the environment which we inhabit, but they can never define who we are. The waters I swim in seem shallow, but feel deep. They look safe, but pose a huge threat to mankind. They are dark and dirty, but I still manage to find life in them. Growing up, I always felt lost, confused, and neglected. I deserved to be unhappy, I said to myself whenever I thought about why my own father couldn't accept me, support me, and play the vital role I so desperately needed. I wanted someone to groom me, advise me, and teach me how to play soccer. Every other kid in the village was taught how to play by their fathers, so they had the skill, the motivation, and all the support they needed. And I had none of that. It made me hate myself every time I had to sit out and watch the better kids play the game. Every time fathers would come to school to check on their son's performance during report day, watch them play during game day, and shout with so much pride when their sons did something great. Swimming in a sea of self-hate, anger, and selfishness was everyday life. I never wanted that. I wanted to be happy. I wanted to have a sense of belonging in this world. I wanted to swim freely to the place that defines me better, that gives out the best in me. And I knew that unless I got rid of my old self, I'd never live the life I wanted to live. And I'd never be the person I wanted to be, the person I really am, and the person I wanted the world to see. I was born for a purpose, to conquer and not be conquered by the world. I am happy and satisfied by what I am. I am me, a unique being in deep waters, the waters that I belong to. Ngiyisizwe, indvodza emadlodzeni, ngamani. The waters I swim in
Is the waters you swim in. The waters we swim in are universal. Who is in the water with me? What is in the water beside me? The current waters I swim in aren't going to be the same waters in the future. The waters are open to change and are inevitably meant to cross paths.
Torn Graves, Atlanta, Georgia.
Kana Yuan, Hong Kong.
Amshobe Timsina, Kathmandu, Nepal.
Ntobisi Masego, Swaziland.
Meghna Porkayasta, Los Angeles, California. Global Leadership Forum, United World College.